Hi guys, and welcome to another video, and this one wanted to join me today because she just didn't want to settle down. She's just wide awake, so I thought that I would just hold her in this video, and if she makes strange noises, that's just the life of a newborn. But today I wanted to do a slightly different video, and I wanted to talk about the 5 things that they don't tell you when you decide to express your breast milk. Now, I've gone down the feeding route of expressing, so I feed it to her with a bottle. However, she is having breast milk. She didn't latch on in hospital, she just had problems latching on. I was doing everything right, and the midwives, you know, were telling me that I was doing everything right. It was more of a decision of her part that she was just being a bit awkward and just never really latched. We kept trying when we got home, and I made the decision to just exclusively express because it was easier for me, because I found myself getting frustrated when she wouldn't latch on, and then when she was hungry but wasn't latching, you know, it made it frustrating for both of us. So that kind of is a summary of why I've decided to go down this route, but it's best to do whatever's best for you. Whether that be breastfeeding, whether that be formula feeding, or expressing. As long as your baby is putting on weight and is maintaining a healthy kind of diet of getting enough milk and is eating enough, then it doesn't really matter how you do it. Like, I really don't think it's specific, it doesn't really matter. But for me, I really wanted her to have the best start in life by expressing my breast milk, which is why I've decided to do it. So that's a bit of background as to why I am going down that route. And throughout this time, I've definitely learned a lot of things about what it's like to express, and so I thought it would be quite a good video to just do top 5 things that I've learned throughout this feeding journey so far. Some of them are funny, some of them are practical, so I hope it helps anyone that is deciding to express or even just breastfeed. I think a lot of these things will be relevant too, because the art of expressing is like simulating what your baby would do, but you're just collecting that milk instead of them having it direct, if that makes sense. So hopefully it does help others kind of in the feeding process. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. So the first point to make is that neither breastfeeding or expressing is easy. Especially in the first initial stages, like in the first couple of days, I found that when we were trying to establish breastfeeding and then I was expressing at the hospital so that she would actually feed, I found that it caused my uterus to actually contract back down, and because of that I was actually experiencing mild contractions, which was not a nice feeling at all. It wasn't a nice feeling at all when you've just gone through that process of giving birth. No matter how your birth went, to start feeling contractions again was not nice, and they were mild and you could like breathe through them, but you definitely noticed that they were happening. So that's definitely something to consider if you didn't know that that happens. Now, point number 2 is if you are deciding to express, or you think that it might be an option that you might consider, you don't have to invest in an expensive breast pump. Now, for me, I was always under the impression that everyone had the like Mandela ones, and they're like £100 and something for a double electric one, which is definitely what you want if you're deciding to exclusively breastfeed. But for me, I actually ordered a breast pump whilst I was still pregnant because I wasn't sure if I'd need it, and it was one of those things that I thought it's best to get one in case I do, so that it's at home as and when I need it. But I also didn't want to splash out in case I didn't, if I wasn't going to use it. So I actually got a Bella Baby one, and it was from Amazon, and it was like £37. And I tell you what, it's like the best thing ever. It does everything I need it to do. It's got loads of different modes, and it's battery operated as well as rechargeable by the mains, and it's amazing. And that was £37, like I said. It wasn't like £137. And so you don't have to spend a lot to get something that works really well. I'm not saying that that's the best option for everyone, but it definitely works so well for me. I was fully prepared once I made the decision to exclusively express that I would probably have to buy a more expensive pump, but I haven't needed to. So I'll leave a link to that one in the description box below so you can check it out yourself. So for me, that one was just really good, and I've really enjoyed using it. It has everything I need it to do. It's really easy to keep clean and stuff, so yeah, 100% recommend that one. So the next point is the fact that you will get engorged breasts, and they are really painful. The first time that I kind of went out, I guess, for longer than 3 hours, which is normally my cut-off point to when I need to start pumping again. My boobs got so hard. I feel like they grow so much, and a bra that starts off fitting me at the beginning of the day definitely doesn't fit me at the end, because my boobs grow that dramatically in size over a course of time that it's almost like I need a new bra to like accommodate the extra growth. So that's definitely something to consider. But yeah, I've never really experienced boobs like it. That said, it's a really cheap way to get a temporary boob job, because you'll have massive boobs even if, like, no matter how you feed, whether it's breastfeeding or expressing, it's the same process. Your body is making milk and obviously it's storing it in your boobs, and yeah, they get so big. And I always said to Rich that I would like to get a boob job, and he's always like, well, there you go, you got your wish. But it's ridiculous how big they've got. Like, I went from like a C cup to like, it must be at least double D, like minimum. It's ridiculous. The next point is that your nipples are definitely going to get really sore, again, regardless of whether you breastfeed or express. Your nipples are definitely one of your most sensitive parts of your body, so it's to be expected, and it's probably something that your body's never experienced before, kind of doing that type of motion with your nipples. It's really strange, and the feeling of either pumping and breastfeeding is definitely different to anything you would have experienced before. So to minimize the pain or anything like that, you want a good pump. Like I said, doesn't have to be expensive. You just need a good one that is kind of good for your size nipples, I suppose, and your size boobs. You can get different sized pumps to accommodate that, so definitely do your research and find out what one will be best for you. And also, my local hospital gave you the option to actually hire a expressing machine from them, so definitely check to see if that's something that your hospital will do. And you'll also want a really good nipple cream. I really like the Lanceno Lanolin cream. I'm almost at my first tube already. But that's a good one because you don't have to wipe it away for when baby feeds, so it doesn't matter if they have it, you know, it's not harmful at all, which is really good, and that one really does work. The next point is the fact that you can feel your breasts actually making the milk, if that makes sense. You get like tingly feelings probably an hour after you either breastfeed or express. In my case, when I express every like 3 hours, and after an hour of it, after an hour of expressing, God no, that would hurt too much. After an hour after I express, I can feel my boobs getting really tingly, and that's because they're beginning to reproduce the milk, and you can definitely feel it. It's so weird. And again, you'll know if you decide to go down this journey, but be prepared to have your boobs just don't really feel the same. With my nipples hurting and stuff, I began to get used to it, and it doesn't feel as bad now as it used to. I just never really understood what it would feel like to have your boobs feel all these different ways, considering I was never as aware of my boobs as I am now, because they're going through all of these changes, which is amazing because they're able to feed our child. But yeah, it's crazy, and especially when you start producing more milk, because at first you produce colostrum, so it's not a lot there at all. When you start actually producing milk, there's a lot of it, and yeah, it's so weird, so weird. And the last point is the fact that it can make you emotional, and it is quite an emotional journey, I think, feeding your baby, because it encourages your hormones to just like go absurd. You know, they're all different levels, again, probably something that your body's not used to, and it can create a bit of an imbalance where you're not quite sure how to feel. And that, on top of looking after a newborn and, you know, all of that emotional kind of state, definitely contributes to making you feel a little bit crazy. But that's absolutely normal. You know, you are going to feel up and down. That's part of being postpartum, and probably pregnancy, you were used to that as well, your hormones being all over the place. But bear in mind, again, your body gets more and more used to it, and you know, it does get easier. So stick at it if you can. Listen to your body and do persevere. The first couple of weeks are definitely the hardest, whether that be breastfeeding or expressing, but I definitely encourage you to keep doing it, because, you know, if you can, breast milk is definitely one of the best things that you can give your babies. So where you can do it, absolutely do. But like I said, if you get too frustrated or you can't, and it's all these different things, find a method that works for you, whether that be changing to formula, whether that be instead of breastfeeding, expressing. I made that decision, and it's made me much happier because I know that she's feeding well, and I'm also able to tell exactly how much she's drinking. So that concludes my 5 things I never knew about breastfeeding / expressing. This one is getting a bit moany, so I think that she's due another feed. Probably had me talking about milk and is getting very jealous. So I better shut off. But do remember, no matter what your feeding method is, that there is so much support. Like even in the hospital, because she wouldn't latch on and she wasn't feeding properly in terms of breastfeeding, they did offer me to stay in the hospital for longer if I wanted more feeding help, and they said, you know, we can keep at it until she latches on properly. But I think that it just, you know, it contributed to a really overwhelming few days in the hospital because she wasn't latching on. I'd had a C-section, I was quite immobile for those like first 48 hours. I made the decision to express because I had to hand express in hospital anyway, and as soon as I introduced the pump, it made life so much easier. So they're the things that I've definitely learned from this journey so far, and I hope that your feeding, you know, no matter what way you choose, is going well and your baby is well. And that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you like mummy kind of videos, and let me know if there's any other videos you'd like me to create now that I've had her. I'd love to just hear your suggestions, but other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.